You don't just wake up one day and decide, today's the day I move into a nursing home. Life doesn't work like that. It's not a decision you make overnight. It creeps up on you, subtly, quietly, until one day you feel like it's the only choice you have left. But let me tell you something. That's not always true. In fact, more often than not, it's far from the truth. Most people don't realize that rushing into a nursing home isn't just about losing independence. It's about surrendering a part of yourself before it's truly necessary. I've seen it happen too many times. People believe they're being practical, making life easier for their families, or avoiding becoming a burden. But in doing so, they sometimes rush into a place that might not be what they imagined. Because here's the thing about nursing homes. They're not always the comforting, well-organized havens that people expect. They can be, sure, but they can also be lonely, restrictive, and in some cases, even harmful. Now, before I go any further, let's be clear. I'm not saying that all nursing homes are bad. Some are well-run, filled with compassionate staff, and genuinely care about their residents. But that's not always the case. And more importantly, even the best nursing home is still a massive adjustment. It's not something to rush into without considering every other option first. Think about it. For most of your life, you've had control over your choices. You decided when to wake up, what to eat, where to go, and how to spend your days. The moment you move into a facility, much of that freedom is taken away, even in the best circumstances. Your meals? Scheduled. Your daily routine? Structured by someone else. Your visitors? Limited to their hours, not yours. That's not just a change, it's a transformation of your entire way of life. And for what? Because you're getting older? Because some doctor or well-meaning relative suggested it? Because society tells you that past a certain age, you need to settle down in a place where people can take care of you? The truth is, many older folks are far more capable than they give themselves credit for. I've met people in their late 80s and even 90s still living full, rich lives in their own homes. They cook, they garden, they take care of themselves, not because they're extraordinary, but because they never let go of their will to live on their own terms. There's a certain dignity in staying in your own home for as long as possible. It's where your memories live. It's where you know every corner, every sound, every smell. You know which step creaks when you walk upstairs, where the morning light falls just right, how the air feels different in each season. That's not just a house, it's an extension of who you are. Leaving that behind is more than just packing a suitcase and moving into a new place. It's closing a chapter of your life before you have to. And let's talk about the mental impact of moving too soon. You've spent decades building a life. Suddenly, you're in a place where the walls aren't yours, the furniture isn't yours, and the people around you are strangers. That can do a number on your spirit. I've seen once vibrant people lose their spark within months of moving into a nursing home, not because they were physically incapable, but because the change broke something inside them. They stopped being themselves. They stopped being seen as individuals and started being treated like part of a system. And that's not something you can easily undo. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I really can't take care of myself anymore? That's a fair question. There comes a time when help is needed. That's just life. But the key word here is when. Too many people jump the gun. They assume that just because they have some aches and pains, or maybe they need a little extra help around the house, they have to pack it all up and move into a facility. But that's not true. There are in-between options. Home care services, assisted living arrangements that still allow for independence, even family members who are willing to lend a hand. These things exist. And for many people, they're a better choice than a full-fledged nursing home. I want you to really think about this before making any decisions. Because once you leave, it's hard to go back. Some people convince themselves they'll just try it out, see how it feels. But moving into a nursing home isn't like trying out a new restaurant or taking a vacation. It's a lifestyle shift, and one that, in many cases, is irreversible. Because once you give up your home, your routines and your habits, getting them back is no small task. It's also important to understand that nursing homes aren't what they used to be. Decades ago, they were seen as places of comfort and care, where elders were truly valued. But these days, many of them are run like businesses. Efficiency is prioritized over personal attention. The staff is often overworked and underpaid. In some cases, residents are left alone for long periods, not because the caregivers don't care, but because they simply don't have enough hands to do everything. That's the reality, and it's a reality you should consider before making a life-changing decision. I know this is a tough conversation. No one likes to think about aging, let alone the possibility of needing help one day. But if you're going to make a decision about where to spend your later years, make sure it's the right one. Don't let fear or pressure push you into something that isn't right for you. Take your time. Explore every option. Think long and hard before you give up the life you've built, because once it's gone, it's gone. And let me tell you one last thing. You're not a burden just because you need a little help. Too many people believe that once they hit a certain age, they're just in the way. That's not true. You still have value. You still have wisdom. You still have something to offer this world. And you deserve to live in a place that lets you do that. Not one that just takes care of you, but one that allows you to truly live. There's a quiet tragedy that happens every day, but most people don't see it. It happens in nursing homes, in assisted living facilities, in places meant to care for the elderly. It's not neglect in the way most people think. It's not mistreatment or abuse in an obvious sense. No, this kind of tragedy is quieter. It's in the way a once strong person starts to shrink into themselves. It's in the way someone who was full of life a few months ago suddenly seems distant, lost, disconnected. It's in the way a person slowly stops feeling like themselves because their environment no longer allows them to be. This is something no one talks about. They tell you nursing homes are about safety, about care, about making sure you're looked after. And sure, in some cases that's true. But in many others, what they really do is strip away the little things that make life worth living. The freedom to choose what you eat, the ability to decide how you spend your day, the simple pleasure of being able to step outside whenever you feel like it. You don't realize how much these things matter until they're gone, and that's the real problem with rushing into a nursing home. It's not just about losing a house or moving into a different space. It's about losing choice. And for many older folks, that loss of choice is what makes everything go downhill so fast. The body may be aging, but the spirit doesn't have to. Yet when you put someone in an environment that limits their ability to make decisions, that spirit starts to wither. It's a slow process, and that's what makes it so dangerous. It's not an immediate shock. It's a gradual decline. One day, you're still yourself. The next, you're just another resident, a name on a chart, a person in a system that wasn't built with your happiness in mind. Now, I know some people will say, but isn't it better to be somewhere safe? What if I fall? What if I get sick? Isn't it better to have help available at all times? Fair questions, and in some cases, the answer might be yes. But the problem is that too many people make that decision too soon. They move before it's necessary. They give up before they have to. And once they do, it's hard to get that independence back. Let me tell you something. Your home, your familiar surroundings, those little routines you've built over decades, those are more important than people give them credit for. They are a part of you. And when you leave them behind before you absolutely need to, you're not just losing a place, you're losing a piece of yourself. The thing about nursing homes is that they don't just take away physical freedom. They change who you are. They change how people treat you. You go from being an individual to being a patient, a resident, a number on a list. People talk around you instead of to you. Decisions are made for you instead of by you. And maybe, at first, it seems fine. Maybe you even tell yourself it's a relief to have fewer responsibilities. But over time, you start to feel it, that nagging feeling that you're no longer the person you used to be. And that feeling, it doesn't go away. I've seen people deteriorate faster in nursing homes than they ever did at home. Not because they were physically worse off, but because they felt worse. They felt small, unimportant, disconnected from the world they once knew. And here's something else to consider. Nursing homes aren't as safe as people think they are. I know that might sound surprising, but it's the truth. You'd be shocked at how many accidents happen inside these facilities. Falls, medical errors, neglect. It happens more often than you'd like to believe. And the worst part? Many residents don't speak up because they don't want to be seen as a problem. They don't want to cause trouble. So they stay silent. They put up with subpar care. They endure loneliness. And let's talk about loneliness for a second, because that's one of the biggest dangers of moving into a nursing home too soon. People assume they'll be surrounded by others, that they'll make new friends, that they won't feel isolated. But the reality? It's often the opposite. It's easy to feel more alone in a room full of strangers than you ever did in your own home. Because the truth is, meaningful connections aren't just about being around people. They're about being around the right people. People who know you, people who care about you, people who see you as more than just another elderly person, who needs care. In your own home, you have history. You have neighbors who've seen you for years. You have family members who visit your space, on your terms. But in a nursing home, you become part of a rotating schedule. Staff members change, residents come and go, the sense of permanence, of stability, of belonging, it fades, and let's be real. Nursing homes are expensive. They drain resources fast. People spend their entire lives working hard, saving money, only to see it disappear in a matter of years, due to the cost of long-term care. And for what? For a life that, in many cases, is less fulfilling than the one they had before? It doesn't make sense. I'm not saying never go into a nursing home. I'm saying don't rush into it. I'm saying exhaust every other option first. Look into in-home care. Consider moving in with family if that's an option. Explore assisted living facilities that still allow you independence. Think about what really makes you happy before making a decision that can't easily be undone. Because once you move, you can't just go back home the way you left it. Homes don't wait forever. Memories fade. Your connection to the life you once had gets weaker. I've met too many people who regretted moving too soon. They thought they were doing the right thing, only to realize too late that they had more time, more good years than they gave themselves credit for. Don't make that mistake. Take your time. Stay where you are as long as you can. Keep living on your terms. Because the moment you let go of that, it's not just a house you're leaving behind. It's you. There's something people don't tell you about aging. They don't tell you that the world starts making decisions for you. That, little by little, you stop being asked what you want and start being told what's best for you. It starts with small things. Family members suggesting you should take it easy, doctors recommending you stop doing things you've been doing for years. And before you know it, you're being nudged into a conversation about where you should live. The unspoken message? You can't handle your life anymore. That's what makes rushing into a nursing home so dangerous. It's not just about moving into a new place, it's about surrendering control. And once you give that up, getting it back is nearly impossible. I want you to hear this clearly. You have more control than you think you do. No one can force you to move into a facility before you're ready. Not your kids, not your doctor, not society. The only person who should decide when it's time is you. But the problem is, too many people get scared into giving up their independence before they really need to. Fear is a powerful thing. It makes people act before they have to. Fear of falling, fear of being alone, fear of becoming a burden, these are the things that push people into nursing homes too soon. And do you know who benefits most from that? Not you, not your family. The people who benefit are the ones who run these places, the ones who profit off of your fear. I don't say this lightly, but it needs to be said. Nursing homes are a business, and like any business, their goal is to make money. The earlier they can get you in, the longer you'll stay, and the more you'll pay. That's the truth no one talks about. Now, of course, not all nursing homes are bad. Some are run by people who genuinely care. But at the end of the day, even the best nursing home is still a place where you are no longer in charge of your life. And that's not something to give up easily. Sometimes, family members push for a nursing home because they're afraid of the responsibility of taking care of an aging parent. They don't want to deal with the hard parts of your aging. They don't want to worry about whether you'll be okay living alone. They want peace of mind, even if it comes at the cost of your happiness. And here's something else. Sometimes it's not even about safety or convenience. Sometimes it's about money. I know that's a hard thing to hear, but it happens. I've seen it happen. Older people are sometimes nudged into nursing homes so their families can take control of their finances, their property, their assets. A lifetime of hard work, of saving, of building something for themselves, gone in a matter of months because they were convinced to give it all up before they had to. That's why you have to be careful. You have to think for yourself before making any decisions. Because once you're in, getting out isn't easy. Think about this. How many stories have you heard of people moving into a facility just for a little while, only for it to become permanent? They tell themselves it's temporary, that they'll just try it out. But here's what happens. Once you leave your home, your routines, your independence, you lose momentum. You stop making decisions for yourself, and pretty soon, other people are making them for you. And after a while, going back home doesn't even feel like an option anymore. I've seen this happen too many times. Someone moves into a facility just for now, and within months, they stop being themselves. They stop fighting for their own life. They stop being seen as a capable adult and start being treated like someone who needs to be managed. And the worst part? Once that shift happens, it's almost impossible to reverse. That's why it's so important to hold on to your independence as long as you can. Because once you let go of it, getting it back is like trying to swim upstream. Now let's talk about something else people don't like to admit. Family pressure. It's a hard thing to face, but sometimes the people pushing you toward a nursing home are the same ones who claim to love you. They don't always do it out of cruelty. Often they do it out of fear or even exhaustion. They think they're helping. They think they're making the responsible choice. But here's what you have to understand. Just because it's easier for them doesn't mean it's right for you. Now, I'm not saying families are always selfish. Some truly want what's best for their aging parents, but at the end of the day, no one knows what's best for you better than you do. So here's my advice. Don't make a decision based on fear. Don't let anyone push you into something before you're ready. If you can still live at home, stay there. If you need help, look at in-home care options first. If you have family who are willing to step in, consider that before signing up for something permanent. Because once you let go of your independence, it's hard, sometimes impossible, to get it back. And let's talk about something else that doesn't get enough attention: the mental and emotional impact of moving into a facility before you're ready. People don't just age because their bodies get older. They age because they stop living. They stop feeling needed. They stop feeling in control. And when that happens, their health declines fast. I've seen it with my own eyes. A person who was sharp, active, and engaged in their own life moves into a facility, and within months, they're a shadow of who they used to be. Why? Because they lost their purpose. They stopped being an individual and started being a resident, a patient, someone in the system. That's what rushing into a nursing home can do to you. It can take years off your life, not because you were physically incapable, but because the spark that kept you going started to fade. You have to fight for that spark. You have to hold onto it with everything you have, because once it's gone, it's not easy to get back. So before you make any decisions, Ask yourself, am I really ready for this? Or am I letting someone else decide for me? Because at the end of the day, this is your life. And you deserve to live it on your terms. Not in a place that makes things easier for everyone else. Not in a place that limits your choices. Not in a place that treats you like someone who needs to be taken care of instead of someone who still has life left to live. Think carefully before you decide. Because once you move, going back isn't as easy as it seems.